The sun had barely crested the horizon when I found myself staring at the ceiling of my bedroom, a knot of unease in my stomach. The weekend had always been a fragile line between freedom and responsibility, but today, that line was about to blur beyond recognition. My sister, Lily, had always been a force of unpredictability, a whirlwind of charm, mischief, and control, and somehow, I had become her latest fascination. I am Alex. Well, at least that's the name everyone knows me by. To most, I am just your average 20-something guy, balancing work at a small graphic design studio with the occasional night out, trying to live a life that's orderly and predictable. But behind closed doors, I harbor a secret that few people could ever understand. I have a passion for cross-dressing. Not in a casual sense, not just for fun. There's something deeply transformative about slipping into dresses, feeling silk against my skin, the subtle brush of stockings on my legs, and the delicate sway of heels as I walk. It's a form of escape, a way to explore parts of myself that I rarely let surface. I've always been cautious. My girlfriend, Emma, knows only fragments of who I am. She's supportive in her own way, teasing me gently when I confide in her, but even she doesn't know the full extent of my transformations. To her, I'm Alex, reliable, grounded, predictable. And that's how I intend to keep it. My cross-dressing is a secret garden, one I tend carefully, aware that exposure could dismantle everything I've built. And then there's Lily. My sister has always had this uncanny ability to see through facades. She doesn't just observe, she understands, and she uses that understanding as both a weapon and a game. When she visits, it feels like the air itself shifts, charged with the promise of chaos. She moves with confidence, commanding attention without effort, and somehow, she always knows exactly how to push buttons I didn't even realize I had. It started innocuously enough. Lily had arrived at my apartment unexpectedly, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Alex," she said, in that tone she uses when she knows she's about to unsettle me, "you've got a style problem." I froze. Style problem? Yes, she continued, circling me like a predator sizing up prey. "You're stuck in jeans and t-shirts all the time. It's boring. Predictable. Totally you. But also uninspired. Don't you want to see yourself differently?" I laughed nervously, hoping to deflect the question, but the gleam in her eyes suggested she wasn't joking. She wasn't someone who delivered idle remarks. Everything she said carried intention. I sensed that she wasn't just commenting on my wardrobe, she was making an invitation, though I had no idea what the rules were. It didn't take long for her intentions to become clear. She had brought a box with her, a surprisingly large package filled with skirts, blouses, and accessories, each more vibrant and feminine than anything I had ever dared to try. My pulse quickened as I lifted the first piece out of the box. The fabric was soft, almost intoxicating. My fingers trembled. "You're going to try these," Lily said with a decisive nod. "And Alex, I don't want excuses. You will wear them." I tried to laugh it off. "Lily, come on, this is..." "No," she interrupted, her tone sharp but playful. "This isn't up for debate. You're going to see yourself differently, whether you like it or not. Trust me, I know what you need." It was impossible to argue with her. I could feel my resistance melting under her gaze, a mixture of fear, excitement, and anticipation. I wanted to run, but a small, forbidden part of me wanted to see where this would go. Lily's plan wasn't just about clothes. She guided me through every detail, selecting outfits, adjusting them to fit, teaching me subtle movements that made the skirts sway naturally. She even brought makeup, insisting that it wasn't just for appearance, but for transformation. "It's not just the outside," she said, her hands steady as she applied blush to my cheeks. "It's the inside too. You'll feel it." And she was right. The moment I saw myself in the mirror, dressed in a soft pastel skirt and blouse, perfectly accessorized, I felt a strange thrill. It was exhilarating, terrifying, and intoxicating all at once. I looked at myself, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't just Alex. I was someone else, someone free from the expectations of my everyday life. But freedom came with tension. Every sound in the apartment, the creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, felt amplified. Emma wasn't supposed to be home for hours, but what if she returned early? What if I lost control? The thought made my stomach twist, a mixture of dread and anticipation. Lily, sensing my hesitation, leaned in close. "Relax," she whispered, her voice a mix of teasing and reassurance. "This is just the beginning. You'll thank me later. Or, you'll beg me to stop. Either way, it's going to be unforgettable. Her words sent a shiver down my spine. I realized that nothing would ever feel the same again. Today, in her hands, I was no longer just Alex. I was her creation, her experiment, and somehow, that fact thrilled me even as it terrified me. The apartment, once a sanctuary of normalcy, had transformed into a stage. Every mirror reflected my new persona. Every brushstroke of makeup, every adjustment of fabric, pulled me further into an identity I had only ever dared explore in private. And as I looked at myself one last time before Lily left me to practice, I knew that the weekend ahead would challenge everything I thought I knew about myself. This was the first step into a world of skirts, heels, and mirrored reflections, a world where every choice could become a test of courage, desire, and secrecy. And somehow, I had the unnerving sense that Lily wasn't done. I was trapped, willingly and unwillingly, in skirts, and my life, my identity, and my relationships were about to be rewritten in ways I could never have imagined. The first hours alone after Lily left were a haze of nervous excitement. I paced my apartment in my new outfit, feeling the gentle sway of the skirt with every step. It was an odd combination of empowerment and vulnerability. The skirt felt light, almost liberating, yet every glance in the mirror reminded me of how exposed I was. I wasn't just experimenting anymore, I was performing, even if only for myself. I sat on the edge of my bed and ran my fingers over the fabric of the blouse. The texture was soft, delicate, and the smell of Lily's perfume lingered faintly on the garments. Each piece seemed chosen with precision to highlight aspects of femininity I'd only ever imagined in fleeting dreams. The blouse clung just enough to my frame, and the skirt flared in a way that made me conscious of every movement. Part of me thrilled at the sensation. Every sway of the skirt, every brush of the stockings against my legs, awakened something deep and forbidden. I could feel the familiar pulse of excitement that always accompanied my secret transformations, magnified tenfold because I wasn't alone in initiating this. Lily had orchestrated it, and her touch lingered in every fold of fabric. Yet, alongside that excitement, there was a growing knot of anxiety. Emma could come home at any moment. The thought of her seeing me like this, unprepared and unguarded, made my heart race. I imagined her walking through the door, her expression a mixture of shock and judgment, and I shivered. The thrill of being caught mingled dangerously with the fear of exposure. I decided I needed to practice moving naturally. I started with small steps around the living room, trying to get used to the way the skirt flowed and the heels pinched my feet in unfamiliar ways. Every click of the heel on the hardwood floor sounded louder than normal, echoing my inner tension. I caught my reflection in the mirror and froze. There I was, Alex, but also undeniably transformed, delicate, feminine, and vulnerable. The internal struggle intensified as I adjusted the blouse, trying to smooth the fabric over my chest without feeling ridiculous. I had always enjoyed cross-dressing in private, hidden from the world, but this felt different. This wasn't about secret pleasure anymore. It was about performance, about living a persona that my sister had carefully crafted. And in that crafting, I sensed a challenge, a test that I wasn't sure I could pass. Hours passed in a mixture of self-conscious pacing and cautious exploration. I experimented with posture, learning to sit in a way that felt natural for someone in a skirt. I practiced small gestures, folding my hands delicately, tilting my head just right, even the way I sipped from a mug. Each movement reinforced the duality of my existence. Alex, the man I presented to the world, and the new me, delicate, feminine, and fragile in ways I had never experienced. The sound of the apartment door clicking made me freeze. My heart thumped in my chest as I realized Emma could be home. I crouched behind the sofa, desperate to stay out of sight, feeling the skirt brush against my legs and realizing how exposed I was. A moment of panic surged through me. What if she walked in right now? What would she think? How could I explain this? But it wasn't Emma. It was a neighbor returning a borrowed book. I exhaled slowly, my pulse still racing, and reminded myself to be careful. Lily had left explicit instructions. Today was about exploration. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. I had no idea what she had planned, but I sensed it wouldn't be simple. Lunch came and went, though I barely touched my food. My mind was preoccupied with a constant awareness of my outfit, my body, and the fear of being caught. Each mirror became both a friend and a judge, reflecting a version of me that I had never allowed anyone else to see. I touched my hair, now slightly styled with the help of Lily's brush, and felt the strange comfort of familiarity in this new form. And yet, the anxiety never fully left. By mid-afternoon, I had started experimenting with different outfits from Lily's box. There was a pale blue dress that made me feel almost like a doll, delicate and porcelain, and a floral skirt that seemed to dance with every movement. Each change of clothes was an emotional roller coaster, thrilling, terrifying, liberating, and exposing all at once. I couldn't stop looking at myself, adjusting, refining, learning to inhabit this new body as if it were a costume and my own skin simultaneously. A sudden knock at the door made me jump. My hands trembled as I adjusted my blouse, hoping to hide the skirt under the table. I peeked through the peephole. It was Lily again. How had she arrived so quickly? And more importantly, what did she want this time? My pulse surged with a mixture of excitement and dread. I realized, with a sinking feeling, that I wasn't ready for whatever she had planned. When I opened the door, she stood there with a mischievous grin, holding a small box of accessories, earrings, necklaces, and a pair of elegant heels. "I see you've been practicing," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Good. But it's time to take things further." Her gaze swept over me, assessing my posture, my movements, my hesitation. "You're ready for the full transformation, Alex. Are you brave enough?" My stomach churned. Part of me wanted to say no, to retreat, to reclaim the safety of my usual identity. But another part, the part that had been secretly craving this intensity, whispered yes. I nodded, almost imperceptibly, and followed her instructions. The next hour was a whirlwind. Lily guided me through every detail: how to apply makeup properly, how to style my hair to frame my face, how to walk and sit gracefully. She coached me relentlessly, correcting my posture, my gestures, even the subtle tilt of my chin. Each correction, though meticulous, carried a strange intimacy. I felt exposed and protected at the same time, like I was being sculpted into a new version of myself. By evening, I stood before the mirror, fully transformed. The outfit was perfect. A skirt that swirled with each step, a blouse that hugged my frame just right, stockings, heels, and delicate jewelry. My makeup highlighted my features, softening my face and accentuating my eyes. For a moment, I didn't recognize myself. I was beautiful in a way that Alex never was. But with that beauty came a weight, a realization that this wasn't just play anymore. I had stepped into a reality crafted by my sister, a world that demanded I be seen, observed, and judged. And then, the real suspense began. Lily leaned in close, her voice a whisper. "Emma could be home any minute. Do you think you can stay in character if she walks in? Can you maintain the illusion?" My heart raced. I wanted to say yes, to feel brave, but doubt gnawed at me. What if I failed? What if I was exposed? The thought of Emma discovering this secret sent a shiver down my spine. Yet, despite the fear, there was exhilaration, the kind that only comes when you're standing on the edge of something thrilling and terrifying. As the evening wore on, I practiced every detail, walking, sitting, adjusting, perfecting. Every sound, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant traffic outside, even the clock ticking, felt magnified, a reminder that I was no longer hidden in the shadows of my own secret. I was on display, and the tension of being caught became a constant companion. By nightfall, I realized that this was more than just cross-dressing. It was a test of courage, of identity, and of trust in myself, and in Lily, who seemed to know exactly how far to push me. The build-up of suspense, internal struggle, and transformation had reached its peak. And deep down, I knew that the next day would push me even further, into territory I had never dared to imagine. The tension in the apartment was palpable. Every tick of the clock echoed like a drumbeat in my ears. My heart raced as I perched on the edge of the couch, the skirt swishing nervously around my thighs. The heels I had struggled to master all afternoon now pinched my feet, but the discomfort was secondary to the gnawing anxiety that Emma might walk in at any moment. Lily had left moments ago, promising to return with a surprise, and I was alone with the consequences of my own transformation. I paced quietly, practicing my poise and posture, reminding myself of everything Lily had drilled into me. Every movement had to be perfect, graceful, feminine, but also subtle, believable. My reflection in the full-length mirror mocked and mesmerized me at once. There I was, Alex, but not Alex. Something new and delicate, vulnerable yet undeniably beautiful. My fingers trembled as I adjusted the hem of my skirt and smoothed the blouse over my chest. The first obstacle came in the form of the doorbell. I froze, ears straining, trying to calculate whether it was Lily or someone else. My mind raced. Emma? A neighbor? The mail? The doorbell's chime sounded again, louder this time, making my stomach drop. I tiptoed to the door, heels clicking softly against the hardwood floor. Peeking through the peephole, I saw no one, but then a shadow moved, and panic surged through me. I wasn't ready. Not for anyone. Yet there was nowhere to hide. The door creaked open slowly, and in walked Lily, her mischievous grin widening. "Surprise," she whispered, carrying a small box. "Time for the final touches." I swallowed, trying to steady my voice. What are you planning this time?" Lily tilted her head, examining me like a sculptor inspecting her creation. "Just a little challenge. Can you maintain this identity under pressure?" She set the box down on the table and opened it, revealing a set of delicate earrings, a shimmering necklace, and a pair of heels far higher than the ones I had mastered earlier. "Wear these. They complete the look. And then, we'll add a little real-world test." I hesitated. My pulse throbbed in my temples as I considered refusing. But a strange thrill overpowered my fear. This was exactly what I had wanted, in some secret corner of my mind, to be pushed to my limits, to see if I could embody this new persona fully, and perhaps even face the risk of being caught. I nodded, albeit nervously, and let Lily guide me through putting on the accessories. Each earring pinched my ears, each necklace tightened slightly against my neck, each new heel made my steps wobble dangerously. I was fragile, delicate, exposed, and exhilarated. Lily clapped her hands softly. "Good. Now, the test." She handed me a small envelope. "You have 10 minutes to leave the apartment, go to the lobby, and interact with someone, anyone, without breaking character. Think of it as practice for reality." My stomach flipped. The lobby? Downstairs? Anyone could see me. Panic surged, but Lily's expectant gaze left me no choice. I took a deep breath, adjusted the skirt, and stepped toward the door. Each step felt monumental, each sway of the skirt magnified my vulnerability. I opened the door and descended the stairs slowly, aware of every footstep, every rustle of fabric, every subtle shift in my posture. The lobby was dimly lit, quiet. I froze for a moment, scanning the empty space, before spotting the building manager at the desk. He glanced up, and my stomach sank. He knew me as Alex. He didn't know about this persona. I approached him carefully, heels clicking softly. "Hi," I stammered, my voice softer than normal. He looked up, surprised. "Alex? Are you okay?" I forced a smile, trying to mimic the femininity Lily had taught me. "I'm fine," I replied, adjusting my skirt subtly. The words sounded foreign in my mouth, almost a performance, but I clung to them. The manager nodded slowly, still puzzled. "All right, just checking." He returned to his paperwork, and I exhaled quietly, relief washing over me in a wave. I had survived the first interaction. But the real challenge was yet to come: more exposure, more risk, and the constant threat of being discovered by Emma. Returning to the apartment, I felt a mix of triumph and dread. Lily was waiting, her eyes glittering. "Well done," she said softly. "Now, the next part." She handed me a small package, a pair of stockings with a slight shimmer, delicate gloves, and a corset. "Wear them. They will complete your transformation. And then, we wait for Emma." My pulse quickened. The gloves slipped onto my hands, the stockings stretched over my legs, the corset cinched tightly around my torso. Each piece heightened my awareness of my body, made me conscious of every curve, every movement. I was no longer just Alex experimenting in secret. I was her, fully, undeniably, and completely visible. And then, the sound of keys in the lock. My breath caught. Emma. She had returned early. Panic surged, and I felt the corset tighten around my chest, constricting my breathing slightly, as if my body itself were warning me. I backed toward the couch, trying to maintain composure, heels wobbling with each step. The door opened, and Emma stepped in. "Alex," she called, frowning. "You're, different." My mind raced. Could I maintain the illusion? Could I stay in this persona long enough to survive her scrutiny? I forced a smile, hands clasped delicately, voice softer, more measured. "Hi, Emma." Her eyes scanned me from head to toe, lingering on the skirt, the stockings, the heels, the gloves, the subtle shimmer of makeup. What is this?
I swallowed, heart hammering. It's a new look.
Just trying something different. Emma's expression shifted, a mix of surprise, curiosity, and something else I couldn't quite read. You look, really, she paused, searching for words. Different. Lily appeared behind me suddenly, whispering, "Stay calm. Own it. You can do this." Every muscle in my body tensed. I had to maintain poise, charm, and composure, even as fear threatened to unravel me. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, and every glance from Emma amplified the stakes. One wrong movement, one slip of composure, and my secret, my identity, would be laid bare. The next few minutes were a blur of tension. I sat delicately on the couch, crossed my legs carefully, adjusted my skirt when it shifted, smiled when Emma looked at me, and nodded when she spoke. Lily whispered occasional corrections, barely audible, but they anchored me. My heart raced, my palms sweated, and yet, against all odds, I was holding the persona.
But then, disaster. My heel caught on the edge of the rug, and I stumbled slightly.
Emma's eyes widened. I forced myself upright, laughing softly, pretending it was intentional, elegant, a playful sway. But my pulse was wild, my mind screaming. I had come so close to exposure, and yet, I survived. Minutes passed, each one stretching longer than the last. Emma asked questions, and I answered delicately, gracefully, embodying the persona fully. Each answer, each movement, each subtle gesture solidified the illusion. But the suspense never left. It was a knife edge, a thrilling dance between secrecy and revelation. Finally, Lily whispered, "You did it.
You survived the climax.
Now, the ultimate test is over, for now." Relief washed over me in waves, mingled with lingering adrenaline. I was exhilarated, terrified, and transformed in ways I could barely articulate. The climax had tested every ounce of courage, composure, and daring I possessed. And yet, deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. Because somewhere in the shadows, the next challenge awaited, one that might finally expose me completely.
The apartment was quiet now, almost too quiet.
Lily had retreated to her room, leaving me alone with the echoes of my own heartbeat and the lingering scent of her perfume. I sank onto the couch, legs crossed carefully, my hands resting lightly in my lap, still clad in the delicate gloves. The stockings shimmered subtly in the dim light, the skirt perfectly in place, the corset tightening just enough to remind me of the vulnerability I had chosen to embrace. Emma lingered near the doorway, eyes scanning me with a mix of curiosity, suspicion, and fascination. Her brow furrowed slightly, but she didn't ask more questions, not yet. The tension between us was thick, electric, almost tangible. I could feel it pressing against my chest, each heartbeat loud enough to echo in my ears. "Are you okay?" Emma finally asked, voice soft but uncertain. She stepped closer, the floorboards creaking under her weight.
My stomach knotted.
Every instinct screamed that I should remain calm, poised, feminine, graceful, but the fear of being exposed clawed at me relentlessly. "Yes," I replied, voice gentle, melodic, practiced. "I'm just trying something new." I forced a small, confident smile, hoping it would mask the storm of adrenaline and anxiety coursing through me. Emma hesitated, then tilted her head, her gaze flicking down to the delicate heels, the glimmering stockings, the perfectly styled hair. "It's different," she said slowly, almost cautiously. "But nice. I mean, you look pretty."
My chest tightened at the word. Pretty.
I had longed to hear it, dreamed of embodying it, yet now that it was spoken, it felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Could she truly accept this version of me, or was she simply surprised, confused, and waiting for me to falter? Before I could respond, a sudden knock at the door jolted me upright. My heels clicked sharply against the hardwood floor as I turned toward the sound, heart hammering. Lily, who had promised me control and guidance, had vanished into her room, leaving me exposed. "Who?" Emma's voice trembled slightly, a mirror of the uncertainty I felt. I swallowed hard, forcing my composure.
I don't know.
"Maybe a delivery." The knock came again, louder this time, and a shadow shifted under the frosted glass of the door. Panic surged, and instinctively, I adjusted the skirt, crossed my legs tighter, and clasped my hands nervously.
My mind raced. Was this the ultimate test? Was someone about to discover everything?
Emma's eyes darted between me and the door, suspicion and concern etched on her face. Alex, what's going on? I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came. The air felt heavy, oppressive, each second stretching longer than the last.
My heart pounded so loudly I feared it might betray me.
The knock came again, urgent, insistent, and my mind spiraled with possibilities. Lily's voice floated from her room, teasing and cryptic. Time to see if you can survive the ultimate reveal. I realized, with a mix of dread and reluctant excitement, that this moment would determine everything. My secret, my transformation, my new identity, all balanced on a knife's edge. I could either maintain the illusion, risking exposure but embracing the thrill, or crumble and reveal everything in a flood of panic. Emma stepped closer, her hand hesitating near the doorknob. Alex, whoever it is, maybe you should. Before she could finish, the door swung open with a creak, and the figure on the threshold was revealed. My eyes widened, my breath caught in my throat, and for a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze.
And then, the story stopped.
Are you okay? Emma finally asked, voice soft but uncertain. She stepped closer, the floorboards creaking under her weight.
My stomach knotted.
Every instinct screamed that I should remain calm, poised, feminine, graceful. But the fear of being exposed clawed at me relentlessly. Yes, I replied, voice gentle, melodic, practiced. I'm just trying something new. I forced a small, confident smile, hoping it would mask the storm of adrenaline and anxiety coursing through me. Emma hesitated, then tilted her head, her gaze flicking down to the delicate heels, the glimmering stockings, the perfectly styled hair. It's different, she said slowly, almost cautiously. But nice. I mean, you look pretty.
My chest tightened at the word. Pretty.
I had longed to hear it, dreamed of embodying it, yet now that it was spoken, it felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Could she truly accept this version of me, or was she simply surprised, confused, and waiting for me to falter?
Before I could respond, a sudden knock at the door jolted me upright.
My heels clicked sharply against the hardwood floor as I turned toward the sound, heart hammering. Lily, who had promised me control and guidance, had vanished into her room, leaving me exposed. Who? Emma's voice trembled slightly, a mirror of the uncertainty I felt.
I swallowed hard, forcing my composure. I don't know.
Maybe a delivery. The knock came again, louder this time, and a shadow shifted under the frosted glass of the door. Panic surged, and instinctively, I adjusted the skirt, crossed my legs tighter, and clasped my hands nervously.
My mind raced.
Was this the ultimate test?
Was someone about to discover everything?
Emma's eyes darted between me and the door, suspicion and concern etched on her face. Alex, what's going on? I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came. The air felt heavy, oppressive, each second stretching longer than the last.
My heart pounded so loudly I feared it might betray me.
The knock came again, urgent, insistent, and my mind spiraled with possibilities. Lily's voice floated from her room, teasing and cryptic. Time to see if you can survive the ultimate reveal. I realized, with a mix of dread and reluctant excitement, that this moment would determine everything. My secret, my transformation, my new identity, all balanced on a knife's edge. I could either maintain the illusion, risking exposure but embracing the thrill, or crumble and reveal everything in a flood of panic. Emma stepped closer, her hand hesitating near the doorknob. Alex, whoever it is, maybe you should. Before she could finish, the door swung open with a creak, and the figure on the threshold was revealed. My eyes widened, my breath caught in my throat, and for a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze.
And then, the story stopped.
Are you okay? Emma finally asked, voice soft but uncertain. She stepped closer, the floorboards creaking under her weight.
My stomach knotted.
Every instinct screamed that I should remain calm, poised, feminine, graceful, but the fear of being exposed clawed at me relentlessly. Yes, I replied, voice gentle, melodic, practiced. I'm just trying something new. I forced a small, confident smile, hoping it would mask the storm of adrenaline and anxiety coursing through me. Emma hesitated, then tilted her head, her gaze flicking down to the delicate heels, the glimmering stockings, the perfectly styled hair. "It's different," she said slowly, almost cautiously. "But nice. I mean, you look pretty." My chest tightened at the word. Pretty. I had longed to hear it, dreamed of embodying it, yet now that it was spoken, it felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Could she truly accept this version of me, or was she simply surprised, confused, and waiting for me to falter? Before I could respond, a sudden knock at the door jolted me upright. My heels clicked sharply against the hardwood floor as I turned toward the sound, heart hammering. Lily, who had promised me control and guidance, had vanished into her room, leaving me exposed. "Who?" Emma's voice trembled slightly, a mirror of the uncertainty I felt. I swallowed hard, forcing my composure. I don't know. Maybe a delivery." The knock came again, louder this time, and a shadow shifted under the frosted glass of the door. Panic surged, and instinctively, I adjusted the skirt, crossed my legs tighter, and clasped my hands nervously. My mind raced. Was this the ultimate test? Was someone about to discover everything? Emma's eyes darted between me and the door, suspicion and concern etched on her face. "Alex, what's going on?" I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came. The air felt heavy, oppressive, each second stretching longer than the last. My heart pounded so loudly I feared it might betray me. The knock came again, urgent, insistent, and my mind spiraled with possibilities. Lily's voice floated from her room, teasing and cryptic. "Time to see if you can survive the ultimate reveal." I realized, with a mix of dread and reluctant excitement, that this moment would determine everything. My secret, my transformation, my new identity, all balanced on a knife's edge. I could either maintain the illusion, risking exposure but embracing the thrill, or crumble and reveal everything in a flood of panic. Emma stepped closer, her hand hesitating near the doorknob. "Alex, whoever it is, maybe you should." Before she could finish, the door swung open with a creak, and the figure on the threshold was revealed. My eyes widened, my breath caught in my throat, and for a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze. And then, the story stopped.